Oh, I don't think I get my Richie Ridge Broadway World coming up. Hey, welcome everyone. I love this. Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining me and my very special guest. She is an award-winning, celebrated actress and recording artist. You know her from such shows as Cats, Kinky Boots, Bat Out of Hell, and from her Tony Award-winning star turn as Yitzhak in Hedwig and the Angry Inch, and from her hit TNT TV series Snowpiercer. And now this coming Friday night, April 9th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, she will be live for one night only right here at Broadway World with Lena Hall, Obsessed, celebrating the iconic band Heart. Please say hello to my friend, Lena Hall.
Hi.
All right, so before we went on, I told you I am obsessed with your background. That is like Broadway 1960s. I love that.
I'm obsessed with the green screen. I'm obsessed with the backgrounds. I really wanted to do a moving background because I have all these video backgrounds, but it is StreamYard doesn't have it. So this had to do, but I love it. It's kind of like we're in West Bank Cafe and it's raining outside and the lights from whatever's across the street or something like that, you know.
Oh, I love it. Well, listen, first of all, I am thrilled to be catching up with you again.
I know. It's been a year.
It's
It's not been a year, but it's been a while.
Yeah, because you and I caught up very early on during the pandemic. So tell me,
Yep.
how are you now and where are you?
I'm good. I am in Canada. I'm filming season 3 of Snowpiercer, and I'm stuck here. Like we're not allowed to go anywhere. We're not allowed to do anything, see anyone. I am here for 6 months, away from my husband and away
Oh,
from my dog, and they can't come visit me. So, that's kind of the trade-off for working during the pandemic. And but I'm excited because season 3
yeah.
is we're off and running, and season 2 was really good, and I was really very proud of what we did for season 2. And also that, they continue to allow me to sing on the show and and make it a part of my character. So that's exciting. And so I'm trying to keep doing projects and shows to keep my sanity while I'm watching everyone in the US get their vaccine and start to do live shows. And I'm relative lockdown here in Canada. So that's, I like to, performing for me is something that it's lifeblood, and so figuring out a way to do it during the pandemic was really important. And so doing the Zoom shows for me, like I did Virtually Live, which was a weekly show that I did where people got to request songs, and that was insane because I was learning, 12 songs every week that I didn't really know, and seeking out tracks for them, and it really kept me busy and it kept my sanity. And also it expanded my I was able to reach fans and patrons in a way that is very different than live shows, because live shows, after you're done, you just you go, and people get like a second here and a second there. Oh, you're great. Or, oh, hey, can I talk to you? Like little things there. And in person, it's very different. But online and on Zoom, I can talk to them and get to know them. And like, it's, much of the same people coming to the shows, and we've developed these fun relationships. And through that, then the relationship between the fans and themselves has grown too. So it's become this community, and this community has fostered relationships all over the world. And that was a byproduct that I wasn't even expecting. And it's kind of amazing because it puts in perspective the people who come and listen to the music. It puts in perspective who these people are and their stories. I mean, I started a Patreon where now I'm doing a podcast that's all about how music it sparks memory, and like certain songs will take you right back into a moment in time. And instead of just interviewing my friends and like famous people and things like that, I've been looping in the patrons, so they're telling me their stories, and it is fascinating to learn about these people that for the longest time were just kind of like, oh, hi, yeah, it's nice to meet you. Okay, bye. Like very short moments of time. So it's opened up this whole it's opened up a whole world, and it's a very fascinating world, and I've been enjoying learning about these people by doing podcasts with them, and yeah, the most surprising stories come from them, and I think it's really cool. And so, doing the Obsessed series, I've stopped doing the virtually live series because it was right now, I'm working now, and doing the virtually live series was tough because I had to learn
Yeah.
same music, like I had to learn their requests, which sometimes were so like, I was like, I've never heard this song before. Oh my God. So I had to stop doing that now that I'm working, and also, I work during the week, so it's a little harder for me to make sure that I have every Thursday free.
Yeah.
So, doing the Obsessed shows virtually is great because I get to choose the set and I get to choose the band, but I still get to interact with everyone. And there's still that, for those who are coming into the Zoom room with me, the VIP tickets, we all get to like talk. You get to ask me questions. We get to interact all show. And even beyond when the show's over, we'll still talk and hang out because, that's fun starts in hour 3. That's like, that's when everything's done and, everything is over with. Like, we don't need to do anything anymore. Like, that's all done. Now let's really like get into the nitty-gritty. Let's like talk. Let's, if you want to request just like a song that I've sung before, if you want to hear it, like I'll do it off the cuff. Like, I love doing those kind of things. That's another thing that I do with my patrons on Patreon is that we do like a Patreon show. We all just get together. They tell me what they want to hear song wise. I do a random set list that they've picked just right then and there. I'm like a human jukebox, and we have a ton of fun because stories come from it, and fun things come from it. That's just off the cuff. It's not planned. So the Obsessed series is certainly my thing and what I love to do, and I love to celebrate these artists, and it gives me a little bit more focus. But at the end of the day, it's all about kind of, it's not chaos, but kind of the unknown factor afterwards of getting to know everyone and being open to that, and being receptive to people, and like
Well,
you
I
know what
love
they're
how
interested
you
in.
do these. So let's talk about Friday night.
Okay.
It's Heart. How excited are you for this?
Love Heart.
Yeah.
I wrote a horrible musical, using all the music of Heart back in 2006, and and so I've always like loved their catalog. I don't know why I didn't think of them for the original Obsessed series. Like, what was I thinking? Heart is a huge, massive part of my life. I guess it's because I feel like it's really hard to improve on Ann Wilson. Like, she's like the mother of all singers. Like, I am a huge fan of her, and so it's fun to. This is going to be fun for me because this is all music that I'm like totally obsessed with, and I was really heavily obsessed when I was writing the show. I had a friend come on board and help me make the dialogue better. I had like an overall vision for the show, and I think that's what I'm good at, is like being like, oh, I can see the whole thing from start to finish, and I've actually been getting better at writing dialogue and stuff like that. So I still have a dream of like bringing Heart, a musical of Heart, to Broadway, but like, sorry, my husband was calling me. I still have this like dream of bringing the music of Heart to Broadway, and like doing a show of their music. And I have a vision, but it's really kind of like it's up to them, like to see what story they want to tell. And a lot of people would go and tell the story of them, the sisterhood, and I went opposite, and I told the story of, originally it started out as my sister and me and my sister and our relationship, which I thought, was interesting because it's taking the weight out of what they've been through and putting it on different people who've been through similar. It's like similarities, because when you're your siblings, you go through similar things. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So, but that was dead in the water when their manager saw it. So
You never know. Listen,
maybe they'll come back. Um,
oh, we're still putting it out there at the world of Broadway World. Lena Hall's Heart musical. We want that.
yeah.
All right, so what are some of the songs you're doing? What are the iconic songs you're doing Friday night?
Iconic songs. What
Yeah.
about Love, Alone, Magic Man, Barracuda, Crazy on You, Heartless.
Yeah.
Those are the tried and true. I mean, the ones that you hear on the radio all the time. Although Heartless isn't really one that is played that often, but it should be. Then there's like Even It Out, and there's Dreamboat Annie, and there's so many These Dreams. Hello. The list is endless. The list is endless. There's so many songs, so many really amazing hits. They were heavily inspired by Led Zeppelin. You can really hear that early on. There's a song called "Rockin' Heaven Down" that is like, it's my personal favorite Heart song, but not a lot of people know it. And it's a straight up Zeppelin rock. And their style, like stylistically, even up until the 80s, is very me.
Yeah.
And there's like, they were incredibly, I mean, for a male-driven world, they did a lot as a female-fronted and female-driven band. I mean, you think Ann Wilson was the singer, female fronted, but then you had the lead guitarist as a female, which is, not something that you saw a lot of in the 70s and in the 80s, especially something that was mainstream. And so, it's important to celebrate these women, because you forget that rock industry is such a male-driven industry. The bands, it's like one in a few, and so they made huge strides where it was really hard to do, and they have iconic music where it was really tough to get a leg up on all of the man, the
Yeah.
man stuff, the cock
And
rock.
then look,
And
like I
like
said, when I was reading the songs you were doing, I'm like, I know all these songs.
yeah.
It's like, they're just, where you heard them,
Mhm.
it's, but I want to talk about, you're offering two different tickets. This is what I love
Yes.
about your, these concerts that you do. You thought outside of the box. You make this so great. You offer a $20 ticket for the concert only, right? Is that what people get for that, right?
Yeah, you can watch the concert live
Yeah.
streamed, watch it unfold in real time. Like, that's the point. It's
Yeah.
live. And I for me, like, watching a stream show, it's more exciting if you know that it's live and happening, like, in real time. And the other ticket is the cue of why it's happening in real time and what you're watching fold out in front of you, that's live. And live theater's coming back, and I'm really excited for this. So excited. And when I saw the Jew Jamson open for just it was like an hour or something.
Yeah.
They did like a little
this Saturday afternoon. Yeah.
with
Nathan Lane and Savion Glover. Yeah.
Savion Glover and Nathan Lane came in. Yeah.
Yeah.
I almost cried because I was like, oh my God. I didn't realize it was such an important part, of our lives. Live theater is so important. Live concerts are so important. It's something that we come to. It's a group event, and for me, watching something online is very difficult when I don't feel like it's happening for real, like in real time. And so the cool thing about, like, the thing I try to do is I try to include everyone and make sure that they feel the live. They feel that it's happening in real time. They feel that they're a part of something special that, no one else gets to see. And
They were in the room with you. I mean, they were in the room with you. They were in the room with you all during and afterwards.
Yes. Well, the VIP ticket. So the general admission, it's like being, you're in the balcony, you're watching the show.
Yeah.
That's the general admission. The VIP is you're definitely in the orchestra, but you're actually on stage with me.
Wow.
So we're in the room, we're talking, while the show is going on in general, it's less interactive because I have getting my show going. But if you come early, we get to talk. If you stick around, we get to talk. You might even get to, maybe request a song that you want to hear. If I have it on tap, I'll do it for you. It doesn't have to be hard. You know what I mean? It's like the after party where we get to hang out. It would be like a Q&A,
Yeah.
but it's a little more loose than that. But yeah, for sure, Q&A or just like, hey, how are you? I see you. I love your background, or I love what you're wearing, or I see you dancing, and it's just a way for us to connect in this time where it's been very difficult to connect with people.
I love it. Now
And
that's a $50 ticket, which is like, wow, that is so worth it. I mean, just to go behind the scenes before, during, and afterwards. It's sort of like
yeah,
you said, it's like going into a VIP room afterwards with you and just hanging out with you afterwards.
yeah, exactly. And doing whatever and being okay with being like, yeah, I'll sing whatever for you because I appreciate it, and also like I love to sing, so it's not like anything on me. I'm not gonna be tired. Like like I love doing it, and I think it's really fun to do, kind of like the little human jukebox
Now you
idea.
have the loyalist fans.
I
Tell me what your
do.
fans mean to you, Lena.
I mean, they mean the most. I mean,
Yeah.
at this point in time, you know, it was always important for me to do after the show, after Broadway shows, to do the lines and to say hello to everyone and to tell them that I really appreciate them, which is true. But now, because of the pandemic, I've been able to kind of switch that into the virtual space and to actually be able to take the time and say, I appreciate you, and you've done so much for me. You've kept me afloat during the pandemic. Like, I don't think that, I don't know how much they realize that they were an integral part of keeping me like afloat during the pandemic, not only in my life, but also emotionally, mentally. And so, with these shows and also with Patreon, I'm able to actually take the time to show my gratitude and take the time to really listen to what they want and like, you know, uh, be much more receptive that way because beforehand it was much more wall because it's like there's not a lot of time, but with virtual, and I see things like this going for a very long time. In fact, I see things like this happening for the rest of the future. This has definitely set up a new form, a new venue, but also it's created a new way for fans to interact with the people that they love and support, and also a new way for the person that they support to kind of give back in a much
Yeah,
more
because
personal
you
way.
have fans all around the world.
I do,
And what the
yeah.
fascinating thing is that everybody can watch you virtually from anywhere all at the same time. And that's what I think would make it even more cool. Like, you're not just playing a New York area or a California area. You're
Mhm.
putting this out there and anybody can buy a ticket and watch you all around the world all at the same time. That must make you feel so great.
Yeah, it's great. And I mean, I always feel bad for the ones who are like, it's 3 in the morning. I'm like, oh my God. Hi, are you okay? Um,
Oh,
and
I'm
some
sure
people,
they're okay.
yeah, some people stay up and I've been trying to figure out, like, I've got to figure out a way to do earlier concerts so that I can get the European crowds and also even earlier so I can get like all the way across the world. So like Australia, China, and, get them
So what would that
involved.
be? Would that be like at 11 a.m.? What
It'd be
time?
morning. It
It'd be
would
in the
be,
morning, right?
yeah, it would be, what were they called? We did like high school matinees or whatever they're called, like when you go in and you do a
Children's
show at 10
matinees.
a.m.
They're like children's matinees at 10 a.m., right? That's what it's called. Lena Hall
That's
does her
exactly what it would be.
children's matinee. No, but it's interesting though. But it's like, but there are some people. What you have given everybody during this pandemic is something to look forward to. I mean, people get dressed up, or they sit and whatever. Like, oh my God, Friday night I'm going to be watching Lena. I'm going to be with her in a room. It's like these are major events that you've created for people, and like you said, it's just as much as an event for you as it is for your fans.
Yeah, exactly. And
I
it's
love, yeah,
it's always fun, and nothing's the only thing that is kind of thought out for these is for the obsessed shows
yeah,
is the music.
yeah.
But a lot of the times, what I say, like, it doesn't matter because it's more fun when it's a comment about what's going on in the moment. And I love that. And it has certainly been, well, it's certainly made my hosting abilities and my talking abilities like much better than they ever were.
Right.
I could tell, yeah, telling story and like making
Oh, I
people
love that.
laugh, and it's so important. And but the only thing that's bizarre about doing shows virtually is you don't hear applause. So when a show ends, everyone's muted. Everyone has to be muted in order for sound to sound right. But like when the song
You're
ends,
like,
I'm like,
thank you,
thank you.
crickets. You hear
Crickets.
nothing.
Yeah. And every once in a while, someone will like unmute themselves and be like, and I'm like, oh, thank you, both of you. That's from Hedwig.
Like
It
two
feels
Hedwig
like that.
fans that are here.
Yeah, but when you look out, when
Yeah,
I look out at the grid on Zoom, it's a totally different story, right? It's totally everybody's really engaged. I can see people laughing. I can see people enjoying themselves. I can see people dancing. I can see people
yeah.
clapping. It's like a different experience. But when I'm singing a song, I have things in front of me,
Yeah.
and so afterwards, it's just like,
Or
did you like it?
a blinking applause sign that's going off in your eyes, thinking people are applauding at you. No, you've got this down to a science. You mentioned the theater coming back. I mean, so much has happened during this pandemic with Black Lives Matter, and so many people are looking into things that weren't done right. So,
Hmm.
with the theater opening up again, how do you hope it's going to look and feel this time around?
I I mean, I I I know this might not happen, but I'm hoping that producers will take a chance on unknown properties, and take a bigger chance on new creatives. I don't know if you noticed, but it is the same creatives over and over again. Same directors, same costume designers, same. It's a small group of people, same choreographers even. So to even just like make it into that's a massive feat because you are pushing into a crowd
Yeah.
that is established, and it's used same cyclical, same people over and over again. I hope that not only are new creatives used, new directors, new choreographers, new voices, new writers, new music, um, just more of an openness to take a chance on a new project, on a new product. And while I understand why producers use what's tried and true, the formulas, taking a movie and turning it into a musical, taking existing music and like a jukebox musical, which is fine, which is totally fine, and it can be really good when it's done right.
Yeah.
Um, we've lost a lot of the new and interesting stories that need to be told, that's more current. And maybe if we do that, and if they're willing to take a chance, it's a big risk and it does require money, but again, if we're able to take a chance on new stories and new voices, I think it will find a larger audience.
Yeah.
I also am hoping that the Broadway producers and also the unions are seeing the value in streaming things, the value in making a show accessible to a broader range of people who can't get to New York, but can see it, because it's not going to lessen the property. You are not going to lose your audience. In fact, you're gaining more of an audience that wants to see a show live. When you see something streamed, you're incredibly intrigued and want to see it live. I liken it to, maybe we need to look at our business at Broadway as a musical act. When a musical act releases an album, they then release visuals that go with the album. They release music videos that go with the album. When people see these musical videos and they're listening to the album nonstop, they want to go and see the band live. And I think Hamilton did, they did a movie version, which I think is freaking amazing. And it's another opportunity for your Broadway performers to sustain themselves on something other than having to do 8 shows a week, which is really important. They get residuals from it. They are able to break into another industry that will help them survive. Dancers, for instance, it's a shorter career. It's harder to transition, and we need other streams of income from these 8 shows a week that we do. And I hope that producers can visualize the incredible opportunities that maybe the theatrical release or visual or streaming will do for the property itself, because it will expand the property. People will want to go see it. If it goes on tour, they will go and see it more likely than they would if they didn't really know what they were going to the theater for. Once you see it, it's like you want to be a part of it. And people go back to the theater over and over again. They want to see it live. They understand like the general population understands there's a massive difference between seeing something that is on a screen as opposed to seeing something live. And they want to see things live. Why do you think, Beyonce sells out massive arenas, even though she's tons of videos out there? People don't get tired of that. They want to see that, and they'll want to see the same. It's like they'll want to see the show that is infamous on Broadway, that they've seen, that they've been watching. They'll want to see it live. They'll want to see, they'll want to see the different people in it. I think people want that. And I think it will also expand the reach of Broadway as well. It will become less elite, because right now ticket prices are so high that it becomes it's difficult for a family to go and see shows because it is so expensive. Yeah. And the reason why the ticket prices are so high is because the margins for making your money back is so slim. But if you expand it into a theatrical universe, then those margins are perhaps bigger, and perhaps you can drop the ticket prices so that it's much more accessible, and then shows can run longer and shows can have a broader reach, and those around the world can see tours that come into their cities. And not only that, it'll inspire youth who will want to write and direct and do creative things and be a part of this. So that's what I'm hoping, is that not only is there a move to tell different story with different people and different creatives and new talent, but also move to expand the reach of Broadway, expand the reach of live theater, and make it more accessible to people who can't buy a $175 ticket. So yeah, that's what I hope.
I love it. No, I love it.
Sorry, producers.
No, I think it's great though, but it's worked for the National Theater. It's worked for Live from Lincoln Center. I mean, many people have put this out there already, and it's helped a lot. Like I said, and like I said, these big recording artists do these big shows that run on HBO and millions of people watch, but they still buy a ticket to see them live.
Yes.
And most of the time it's the same show, so it's like it'll work. So I'm totally about that. I want to talk about Broadway. This season, many people were supposed to make their Broadway debuts. Then the pandemic came. I mean, Six was supposed to open the day that the New York theater shut down in the first place. I mean, half the girls, the ladies were already at the theater, like getting their outfits ready for the night before the rug was pulled out from under them. So I'm hoping that when the theater comes back, it's going to come back bigger and better than ever. But debuts only happen once, and you made yours in Cats. Now, tell me how magical that was for you. What do you remember about that?
I mean, I don't remember anything.
What? You don't?
I don't remember. It's when you do, okay, whenever you open a show, it's usually that first show is just like, you can't remember it because it's an out of body experience. You know, that happens all the time, regardless of if it's your Broadway debut or your 100th show, or no, well, not your, like 10th Broadway show, and you're doing that show for the first time. The first time is always a blur, complete blur, and usually opening night is also pretty blurry because it's the excitement. Your adrenaline takes over. There's something about the adrenaline where you just kind of like go away. You do the experience, but like it's just kind of you're gone. Hard to remember. But there's nothing like it, and I feel for those who were making their Broadway debut and it just got cut short. Yeah. That's really frustrating. I mean, that's so hard. That is so hard. And my heart goes out to all the ones who were making their Broadway debut. And then my heart also goes out to the ones who were finally getting a chance to shine and, for the Tonys and stuff like that, like getting their moment. And it also being cut short. And I know that the shows are coming back that were open. Well, actually, I'm not really sure about the whole thing. I don't know the behind the scenes, but I'm praying. I wish the Tony Awards waited, because there's a lot of people who were going to make their moment, and then the Tony Awards went ahead and did nominations. So I don't know how they're gonna rectify that. Because I think the shows are coming back. I'm not quite sure what the decision was. I don't know. But I feel for the people who were going to have their moment to really shine and to have all eyes on them and to possibly be nominated for a Tony Award, possibly even win. For that to be like gone like that. And then to see the Tonys happening, and that is supposed to be their year. Yeah, I don't know. So I don't know if they're going to include them for this next season or what's that going to look like. But it's tough because the Tony season's very complex, and it has everything to do with what other shows you're going up against. I think people are really conscious of that as they open and their shows go, and who's going to be and who has a chance and who, so it is going to change for those people who are getting pushed to the further year. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. So I don't.
It's interesting. It happened years ago in the early 70s. I mean, by the time.
It did.
Oh, it happened a lot when shows didn't come in yet, or they didn't make the cutoff for that year and they were nominated the following year. Oh, there's a lot of that if you look back at the 70s and stuff, the early 70s.
Yeah.
It's really interesting how it all played. Like, wait a minute, that show should have won last year. Oh, they weren't considered that year, so they put them in the following year. And then some of the shows were already closed, but they were nominated. They the Tonys. It's so interesting.
Yes.
Had already closed, and Michelle Lee. There's all these great clips from the early 70s of I'm like, wait a minute, how did they not get nominated during the year they should have been nominated? The cutoffs were different. So I'm looking back at this year as sort of like, oh, it happened in the 70s, but I just hope that, when a show like Six reopens again, they get considered, obviously it's going to have to be a next season. So it's going to be really weird. But I think most of them, if not all of them, are coming back. But I think
Okay.
they're slowly going to come back, depending on, I think, smaller musicals may come back with,
Yep.
less of an overhead. I think the
Yep.
rollout, it's going to be very interesting to see how it all comes back.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's the issue. That's the
Yeah.
issue with the Tonys is that if you were supposed to open for the Tony
Yeah.
season and March 15th happened
Yeah.
and you were right gonna open or about to open or maybe open in April and you're gonna now open in the fall or the summer, it's not it's there's like timing things. Like people open their shows specifically on a specific date so that they get a good chance at being considered for the
Okay, so something
awards.
comes to mind now. So George M was supposed to be open like the day before the Tony cutoff of the year that George M with Joel Grey at the Palace Theater.
Yeah.
But then something happened with the TV, with whoever was running it. I think it was NBC said, no, it has to be a week earlier. So the cutoff was a week earlier. They were still in Detroit. None of them got nominated because if you look at the reviews, Clive Barnes' review for George M said, give Joel Grey and George M a Tony Award. I mean, that was the big thing because they couldn't be nominated till the following year. So
Right.
this is something that comes to mind that falls out of my head right now, but it's happened, and I think the
Yeah.
producer was suicidal practically, like, what? It's a big deal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. Yeah. Yeah, planning it out is a big deal. And your show also has to survive long enough for the
Yeah.
Tony voters and everyone to come and see it. And then
So it'll be interesting to see how the whole rollout happens with just shows coming back. Because,
yeah.
Some saying they're going to open in September, some saying they may open in December. I think the rollout's going to be much longer this year. So it
Mhm.
all comes back right. So maybe, sometimes by the time these shows come back, it'll be next year's Tonys. So, hopefully I
Yeah.
just pray that everybody gets a shot, but that all these shows come back. But now I want to go back to Cats for a second for you because you
It's all
love
about
that show.
cats.
You love that show, right?
It all comes back to cats.
It all comes back to this. I told you, we were talking about window cards beforehand. I got this one. It came in the mail
Amazing.
yesterday.
Oh, yesterday.
Buckley. It's Betty and Ken Page. It's one of the original ones. This was like the second version of the poster. So then I thought of you today. I was like, oh, I got Lena today. Let's
Is
talk about
that
that.
is that Terrence Mann?
Terrence Mann, right on top. So I love him. But seriously, I know you loved Cats. Do you remember the first performance in New York? Not your first one you did, but the first performance where you're like, oh my God, I'm having a great time doing this show now.
It was tour. It was on tour because I started on the tour and then came to Broadway and I was like, wow, this is awesome.
Broadway.
Yeah, it was kind of like an amped up, it was like an amplified what I had been living my life because I was in ballet companies and I was also doing 4 shows a year theater wise, just with my young people's teen musical theater company. But Cats was just like an amplified all the time. And I was like, well, this is awesome. Like, I love this. This is amazing.
And I know you started on the tour, but like I said, I'm sure when you got to its original home, the Winter Garden, where
Yes, the mothership
was built, the mothership, I'm sure you were like, oh my gosh, this is what it looks like.
Yeah. I mean, that was like, I don't even know. I wasn't even old enough to understand the dream I was living. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was like, this is happening. I don't know what is happening to me. Like, I can't believe I'm living in New York. I'd never been there before. Like, it was like it was totally crazy. It was wild. It was crazy.
I can only imagine what it must have been like to
Great.
be that young and be on Broadway, making your debut in the biggest hit show in town. And you're like, I'm in New York City.
Looking for love. That was always what it was
Totally.
about.
I love that.
That's always what it was about.
It's either the name of your autobiography or a chapter in there, Looking for Love.
Looking for love. Yeah.
All right, Kinky Boots. We have to talk about Kinky Boots because then you got to create a role from scratch. I mean, what are your favorite memory of doing Kinky Boots? Okay.
The whole process was awesome, and I had never really, I didn't do an out of town. It was the first time I got to do an out of town tryout, and the first time I got to really create like a role, and I mean, it was so interesting and fun, and I had a very different experience than pretty much everyone else in the show because my character was so isolated. Like I was in one group number and I was in like and like I was, just like solo in the show. And so it was interesting. But I think the Tony Awards was really the most fun that we had because Jerry was sweet and he included me in a number that I wasn't in because he was like, I want everyone to be in the show. Like I want everyone to be on that stage. I want everyone to do that. And so that was really cool. And we were there.
Yeah.
We were there off stage when we won. We had just performed. We had performed and we were there off stage when we won. We were there off stage when Billy won and we were there off stage when we won for Best Musical.
That's
And
got
it
to be
was
like the big showbiz moment where you're in the wings and you see the lights
Yes.
on the time, like,
We
and the
were-
winner for Best Musical is
Yes.
Kinky Boots.
We were in the wings and we were sectioned off. We weren't allowed to bum rush the stage. We wanted to so bad. And we were like sectioned off with this little tape. I was like, why are we
won.
this is bureaucracy. Like, let us run onto the stage. It's our moment. No, we were so excited. I mean, it was a thrill. It was a thrill to win. And then and then after that, it won the Grammy and that was like just so cool. And that was really amazing. And like it was like my career. I had created a bunch of other roles in different things off Broadway and then of course the numerous amount of workshops and readings that you do. But this was the first one that I actually got to see from start to finish because I had been in the first reading and all the way through to the end. And that was like amazing.
That's a big deal.
And then, and then from there on, I miss it. I miss it so much. And
I can't believe they sanctioned you all backstage. I can't believe that you couldn't
the
rush
whole
the stage
cast.
like they do with the Oscars and everything else. Anybody connected to a film runs up there. It was like 9,000 people on stage.
Right, yeah. I mean, that was what it would have been. The whole cast, a bunch of drag queens. Would have been great.
Would have been fabulous.
Yeah, I think it would have been great. But we were sectioned off. It was like literally like a piece of tape.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are we doing? Why aren't we running on stage? Guys, why are we following these stupid rules?
Yeah. Oh, I love it though.
I think it had to do with some hole in the stage or something. Like we would have died.
Totally.
Yeah.
The whole company would have died.
Yeah, we would have just fallen into a pit.
Totally. Hedwig and the Angry Inch, which is all over behind me back here. Okay, I know that. How life-changing. Not only did you play Yitzhak and win the Tony Award, you got to play Hedwig. I mean, no one's played both roles.
It was fun. Really hard and crazy and talk about out of body. But honestly, I feel like every Hedwig should have to play Yitzhak for a while. Because it gives you a perspective on the show that is vastly different than Hedwig just being Hedwig.
Yeah.
You have much, like, my awareness of my surroundings was like whoa. I knew everything that was going on behind me. And it was kind of like, it was like Yitzhak got his day. You know what I mean? Like Yitzhak finally gets to be in the front. Like that's kind of what it felt like. Like it was almost like I was playing Yitzhak playing Hedwig, which was really fun and cool and very meta. I mean, very meta. But that show is meta. I mean, no matter who plays it, it becomes really meta. It was very empowering, and I proved to myself a lot of things that I was afraid of, and I definitely encourage really anyone to try and see the show from both points of view, because one is yin and one is yang. You have to have both to make a full circle. Like it's almost like a full being. But both sides are playing the opposite of the show. So, Yitzhak is obviously much quieter, but and very internal and there's so much angst and so much pain going on that Hedwig is also feeling, but dealing with in the opposite way, very outward, very presenting, very, very much that, very open. So you have the one that's, there, and then you have the one that's really internal. And at the
So,
the
yeah.
end of the show, it flips. And I
Yeah.
think that understanding of the flip and that understanding of the growth of each character is like helpful for both characters. Like I looked at Yitzhak differently as well when I was doing that. But of course, Yitzhak is different with every Hedwig, so it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter what I had done with Neil, what I had done with Michael C. Hall. It was all very different when it came to John, when it came to Andrew, when it came to Darren. It switches with that person. It's almost like Yitzhak is the ultimate empathetic sponge.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate reactionary character because you're not allowed to do anything but react to whatever that person is, to whoever
Interesting. Okay, so
Hedwig is.
yeah.
Yeah.
The first time you played Hedwig was in your hometown, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so I know we talked about this before, but let's see, your hometown, you're going on, I'm sure in your muscle memory you have Yitzhak, and you're like, tonight I'm going to be Hedwig. I'm like, do you remember
Yeah.
anything about that first performance on stage as
No,
Hedwig?
I don't remember, but I do remember beforehand. I was shitting bricks, and I thought to myself, "What have I done? Why am I doing this to myself? For Christ's sake, why would I put myself in this horrible situation of just terror?" And like I was seriously terrified, 1,000% seriously terrified. I haven't had stage fright that hard in my whole life, except for that moment. Well, really every moment before I went on stage as Hedwig, and then blackout, and then the whole thing just takes over itself. Um, and then afterwards, you're like, "Wow, I did that! I did it! I did it! Holy shit, I did it! I didn't die! I didn't lose my voice! Like I didn't, I feel like I was hit by a truck, but I did it." And yeah, so like literally right before the shows, it's like that moment of fight or flight, and you really want to fly. You really want to just fly on out of there, get the hell away. Like, what have I done? I quit. Nope, never doing this again. Never going on stage again. I'm never doing this again. And then of course that inner what you learned your whole life. The show must go on. Like, there's no saying no. You're here. It's too late. But then
You're being lowered.
right. Well, we didn't have that. It was like being stuck behind a curtain and then just being like, I'm here. Um,
Wow.
so there's that, there's that. And then the minute you step on stage, it's just like,
You're going.
it's a freight train, like Snowpiercer. It's a total train. You can't stop it. And then when it's over, you are in a state of shock. It's a state of shock. It's a state of euphoria. It's a state of utter exhaustion. Very different journey than Yitzhak.
Yeah. And then you do a reset, you do it again the next night.
Then you do a reset and then you go back to the other character. That's what I was like. It was like reset and back to this. Wow.
That is wild.
It's amazing to taste the grandness of Hedwig and then to go back into your little hut, your little corner as Yitzhak. And that is crazy because that tells the story so well because Yitzhak was this amazing drag queen and had to be like sheltered into this like, and so angry about that. I mean, it really was like, I was like, wow, every Hedwig should have to play Yitzhak. I mean, it just...
I love that because it makes your Yitzhak even bigger and better, something of just what he's feeling and what they're feeling inside of saying, I should be that.
Adds more layers, like a lot more layers, like a lot.
Yeah, totally. I can imagine when you went back, I'm like, this is a whole new Yitzhak.
Yeah,
for me.
I'm like, oof, wow, okay.
Now, you're also the voice of Countess Colatora on My Little Pony. My nieces are obsessed with this. I mean, how incredible is that?
It was great. I mean, I somehow made that happen by because I put it in my Tony speech, which I wasn't supposed to do, but I did anyway. I said friendship is magic. And then like Hasbro was like, oh, you like the show? Here's a bunch of stuff. Like they sent me a bunch of toys
Yeah.
that I ended up giving to my niece.
Yeah.
I don't really have a lot of, children's toys lying around. I'm a bit of a minimalist, but I gave them to my niece and she loves, love, love. And then they were like, hey, so would you be interested in voicing a character on the show? I was like, hey, yeah, I would. And, next time I win an award, I'm certainly I'll think about what I'm going to say. I might loop a ton of stuff in. Like, it's just, like products that I want them to just, like, give me things or
Stuff
give me,
you
like,
wanted to, or
spots.
like,
Yeah, spots on the show. I was like, well, shit, if I'd known this is going to happen, like, no. I'm kidding. But then I'm like, well, why didn't I say, like, oh, wow, Lamborghini's the best.
Yeah. Car arrived at your home.
Yeah, right. Like, hey. Or the Heart musical. Yeah. Yeah.
That's the next thing in your speech, and that should be in your speech. Totally.
If only Heart would let me do a musical.
Totally. We have to talk about Bat Out of Hell. I love this at City Center. I mean, watching you just rock it out. I mean, what was it like living in the songs of Jim Steinman and Meatloaf and that whole time for you?
I mean, it was so fun. It was ridiculous and fun. And I loved that the director just kind of was like, what do you feel? Like, how would you do this? And I was like, are you sure? Like, I would do it like this. And he's like, great, I love it. Like, it was fun to have a really simpatico relationship with the director, where the director was very trusting in me. Yeah. And so was the rest of the cast. I mean, it was like I came in as a complete outsider, and an outsider to the product, like to the script and everything. And I saw it a whole different way than maybe they had been taught. And I think it was fun because we all had a really good time, and the cast was so freaking they were so incredibly talented, and it's like we knew we had this campy, wonderful I knew I had this really campy, wonderful show on my hands that was just like over the top and ridiculous, and it really is the essence of Jim Steinman's writing. Yeah. His writing is so grandiose, and the lyrics are bold and wonderful, and just it's so storytelling beyond. And that, and I think that the show was reflective of that specifically. And also is reflective of a whole time period of writing as well. And to sing Jim Steinman songs was just so amazing and fun. And I had the time of my life. And I had so much fun, like it was funny because Bradley Dean and I had been doing workshops where he was playing my dad. And then suddenly we were like playing husband and wife. And it was like, totally funny, but like we had a blast. And, I mean, all coming back to me now was probably my favorite moment in the show, especially since I was kind of an asshole, but there was a moment where I walk front and center and just belt a really high note, and it's like the audience would applaud, and I was like, yeah, that's right. I was like, I'm gonna get applause every time I do this, and that was like it had nothing to do with the storyline. I mean, that's why, I mean, it's like kind of an asshole move just to be like, I'm gonna do this.
No, but that was the rock and roll thing. That was the
rock and roll thing. Yeah, exactly.
A musical, a rock opera, a rock and roll show. The dance front, belts these notes, and the place goes crazy.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I really want. I wanted the audience to just lose their shit. Like that's, that was the point.
And they did. We all did.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to do the show too, because the music is just so iconic. And yes, the audience will lose its mind over the music. Yeah. I mean, you can't not. It's so impressive, and the whole cast was just so impressive, to watch sing, and just and they did that, and the cast did not waver. Yeah, a show. It was the same energy, the same. It was the same every show, and it was
because I went twice. I went early in the run and later in the run. It was the same thing. It was like opening night,
just a wall of sound. Yeah. Yeah. And a
Well,
wall of energy coming from the
oh,
cast.
totally. We're just about out of time. We have to go back to Snowpiercer for a second. Season 2 got me through the pandemic. I mean, I'm just obsessed with this show. I mean, you have this incredible new fan base. You are Miss Audrey. What an incredible role you get to play. You get to sing in this. You get to work with this amazing cast. I mean, what is it like being a part of Snowpiercer?
It's awesome. I mean, the
Yeah.
cast is amazing. I've learned a lot. I've got, I was lucky because season 2, they allowed me to have this story arc that is, it's a great story arc because it's not a typical story arc, right? And to see, like episode 4 was really like I felt really honored that they allowed me to interpret something like that, and something that is a really tough subject. It's about abuse and kind of the strength an abuser has on their, I guess, victim, but like long-term relationship abuse and things like that. So I felt really honored that they gave me the opportunity to tell that story, and then to tell the story of what it can do to someone, and to tell the story of kind of like addiction and things like that. So on the surface, it's a great show. It's action. It's wonderful. But then down deep below, there's all kinds of other things happening below the surface that I take to heart, and I really want to make sure that I wanted to make sure that I was telling the right story, and honoring people who go through the same thing and who are faced with the same difficult choices and the same things like that. So I think it's cool to have a character like this that is not flat. She's so three-dimensional, and there's so much going on under the surface. And also, not only that, they allowed me to have the best costumes and like
And the best songs. Is there
the best
anything?
songs. Yeah.
I know you're filming season 3. I'm
Yeah.
sure you're under this. I mean, is there anything you can tell us about anything that's going to happen in season 3 with you, or anything?
Yes, I can tell you that there's stuff that happens.
I love that. I love that answer. Nothing's going to happen. So tune in when season 3 starts, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, like I said, we're just about out of time. You were so brilliant in the film, Bex. You're one of this.
Oh, thank you.
You're an incredible recording artist. You've got her music is available everywhere, Spotify, all the streaming platforms. I could listen to you all the time. We have you on our Alexa, because if I say it too loud, she'll start squawking in the background. We have you everywhere in our house, Lena. But like I said, I want to remind my final question for you is, what have you learned about yourself during the pandemic?
I've learned that I am a slave to my being productive, and if I'm not productive, I'm really hard on myself, and I haven't been able to be productive during the pandemic the way I wanted to, and I'm so hard on myself that it's stopping me from actually doing things. I treat myself very. It's hard. It's hard. I don't know. It's like I've learned that like I am extremely hard on myself when I am not constantly creating, and it's an impossible thing to do. And I need to be okay with having some time where I'm just chilling, dealing with the anxiety of the world, and that's okay.
Yeah,
I don't have to cover it up and hide it. Like I don't have to hide behind work. I can actually deal with emotions and not let them take over and get into a really dark place. So yeah, that's been the one thing I learned.
Well, that is beautifully put. You have a wonderful husband. You got a beautiful dog. I know they're here. You're in Canada. I'm sure whatever you do, StreamYarding and Zooming and everything else, but you're working on a hit TV series. You got, once again, Lena will be live for one night only this coming Friday night, April 9th. At 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here at Broadway World with Lena Hall. Obsessed Heart, celebrating the iconic band. Tickets can be purchased right here at Broadway World Events. There's a $20 concert ticket. There's this incredible, whatever she's calling this, like
a VIP.
What do you call it?
It's a VIP.
It's
Yeah.
a very special VIP where
Yeah.
you get to do it all with her. I can't wait
Yeah.
to be a part of that. Lena, thank you so much for always dropping by.
Thank you, of course. It's my pleasure.
I love you. Have a fabulous
Love
time
you.
Friday night. I know stuff is going to be happening in season 3. I
Stuff.
cannot wait. Take care, everybody. Stay safe. We'll see you Friday night.